everybody. Welcome to episode 58 of the RF Generation Collectorcast. This time around, it's a little bit different. I'm still your lovable host, but Kelsey and Bill are both otherwise occupied. So what you get instead for this episode is the synergy of two Chris's in one podcast. So besides myself, I've got good friend and collecting buddy out there, Chris Roberts. Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good, buddy. You pulling in the B team, so
no, that's, the A team. We're the B team.
Right.
We're the guys that just been holding it down a little bit forever, but we go back a little bit. You guys had that NARC podcast that you did for a while back, and it was always great. I love listening to the show, and you guys had me on one time, which I really appreciate. We had a lot of fun with it. There was some trivia. I remember that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we ruined it by I felt, and now don't get me wrong, we didn't do this on purpose, but we lost every time but once. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I think I won. It was either me or John. One of us won. And I was like, I can't believe we're going to win. We're ruining the gimmick.
Right. Make the guests feel like they're smart.
No,
right?
Dude, we're just stupid. We never claimed to be experts. And then Rip, he would craft these things. And he always acted like he was the smartest guy in the room. It's like, yeah, let us make one for you. You're never the one answering the questions.
He had the Google foo. I mean, he did it. But no, it was fun. It was a fun gimmick. I like that you guys did that on the show. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, I did too.
But you guys stopped that, a few years ago, and then and you've been doing some other little podcasting here, there, and on the side. So before we kind of get too far, I just want to give a second for those of you that, for whatever reason, may not know Chris. He's on Twitter. I'm sure probably most of us people that follow our show probably follow you as well. So you're at CWR2 on Twitter. But I just want to give you a second to, for some reason, if somebody that's listening now isn't familiar with you, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Well, as the host said, my name is Chris. I've done a few podcasts in my day. We did a little podcast called NARC. None of us knew what we were doing. We just, I was approached by a friend, and he's like, do you want to do a podcast? And I'm like, sure. And we never had any expectations. It was mostly just for fun. Rip took it way more serious than we did. Me and John, we were the losers. We didn't do anything but just show up. And sometimes John didn't even show up. So, but we always had a good time, man. And I've been collecting since I was a child. I took a pretty good sized break from probably like 1999 to 2004-ish. I mean, I would still pick up newer games, but I wasn't actively still collecting the retro stuff. At that point, I was probably buying PS2 games and GameCube. But at some point, I got the bug again and started collecting NES and Super Nintendo. Basically anything Nintendo and Atari again, and basically anything again. So
I understand. Trust me, you're speaking my language. Yeah.
So right now, I guess I'm probably most known for having a ridiculous amount of Super Mario Brothers carts, the Super Mario Duck Hunt combo carts.
And that picture took off, and people just totally ripped you off with it. I know everybody's seen it by now,
yeah,
right?
Well, funny thing is I have friends who, all right, just for instance, my buddy the other day, he's from Canada and Detroit. He's a dual city guy. And honestly, I'm sorry, Canada people, Canadians. Everything is Canada to me. I don't know what city in Canada. It's just Canada. Okay?
It's a big place.
Right. It's somewhere near Detroit. So you guys figure it out. You know where you're at. And so he's a younger guy. He's probably in his either real early 30s or mid to late 20s. He's in that range. And so his boss comes to him trying to relate to him. You know how kind of us older guys do to younger guys. We try to, you talk about the cool things, like try to bring up a Post Malone or something and act like you're hip or something. So he tells them, because he knows he's into, the boss knows that my friend's into video games. He goes, I saw this picture of a guy who put all these Mario Karts in his driveway. I saw it on the internet. And then my friend's like, yeah, I know that guy. He's just like, so And recently, well, about a month ago or so, Vice, a reporter from Vice News, I don't know, somehow he ended up in my feed because I believe it was because either John Riggs or Kelsey, one of them, somehow me and John have gone back for a long time online. And I think it was his interaction with me. Anyways, it was a spiral effect. Eventually, Vice News guy hit me up, and he's like, I want to do an article. And I'm just like, I mean, I never did it for attention. I did it because I like it. And I always had this image in my mind that I wanted to make this stupid picture. Why? I don't know. I just did.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
And, so yeah, and then just the other day I go to work and one of my supervisors, out of the blue, he's just like, hey, so how many of those games? No, hold on, wait a minute. Somebody said something and he goes, well, ask him. He's always on the news. And I was thinking, like what? Because, our job, if you're on the news, it's not good. It means something bad happened, right?
You messed up.
Yeah, so I was like, what? What are you talking about? He goes, so how many of those games do you have? And I'm like, oh. I was like, so you read Vice? He goes, oh yeah, they always put something neat on there. And I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really talk about this kind of stuff at work, I've done all the whole, hey, do you have video games thing, like you're supposed to do, networking amongst your coworkers, and that has paid off, but
oh yeah,
I don't tell them about my Instagram or nothing like that, because, they'll think I'm more of a lunatic than they probably already do. You know what I mean?
That's the same thing. I'll mention those same things, but like I don't mention like I've done a podcast for years and all of it, or how many games I have. You just were like, oh, I think these are cool. You leave it at that, right?
Well, yeah, because frankly, as many podcasts, I've been on other people's podcasts and stuff, and I talk a lot of crap, so I don't really know what I said. Matter of fact, just the other day, someone found some old episode. I also did like a reselling podcast, Dollar Dorks.
I remember Dollar Dorks, yeah.
And somebody, this must be like a 2-year-old episode. He put it in his story. He didn't even tag me in it, so I don't even know if he wrote. I'm assuming he knew it was me because we followed each other for a while, but we're not really. I wouldn't say we're friends. We just, admire each other's collection. And I could see this in his thing. I hear my voice, and I'm like, what? And so it's me talking about him, but I wasn't talking bad about him, but. I was mentioning his collection and because he's all into Xbox One and he has some really rare stuff. And so Super Nintendo, if you're listening, okay, you can make this your next clip. But he has some really cool stuff, and he's really into modern Xbox. So
yeah.
I don't know. That was what the clip was, and he was just, I guess he was happy that I talked about him kindly. And all I could think about is like, oh man, I hope the people who I was talking bad about weren't listening.
That's the thing is, sometimes you kind of forget. Like
right.
that you're on being recorded and people can just go back and listen when whatever they want. But I've only had fun with it when people bring some of that stuff up. So thankfully it's never, knock on wood. I don't tend to smack talk a whole lot.
And when I do as jokes. I don't. Sure. You know what I mean? It's me trying to crack jokes, not nothing mean spirited. But some people might be more sensitive than me. I would laugh if I heard someone making fun of my collection online, or on a podcast. But
oh, absolutely, yeah. The way I look at it is, this is my. Yeah, I always tell people, that when we actually get to talk about, like, I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't have. This is my vice.
This is the vice,
yes. And that's, that's just part of me, and I'm not gonna,
I don't make no apologies for it. I'm sure.
It's just what I do.
It might seem silly to some, and usually I'll beat them to the punch and be like, "Yeah, I'm a grown child. I know this, and I don't care." So
yeah, but that's the whole thing. But it's not. We do it with games. Right. Some people do it with motorcycles or with cars,
boats, fishing, whatever. Yes,
right. People do their own thing. It's just. I don't sit there and try to beat them up because, they're trying to fix up like an old hot rod or something.
Right. And, and good luck finding like a 72 Camaro at a yard sale for $6.
It's funny that you said that. My very first car was a 72 Camaro, but it was a piece of trash, dude. I bought that car for like $50.
Oh,
It's a
dude.
piece of trash.
Oh,
But that
man.
was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
you can't even get the headlight for $50. Like the frame around the headlight now for $50.
I drove that car for like 2 weeks, and an old man T-boned me. And so that was the end of that car. But, you know, I was a kid, and I had that dream of, I'm going to fix this car
Oh,
up.
of course.
And, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it was, you know, it was not that great to begin with. But I was like a 16-year-old kid, first car.
First wheel, yeah.
You know.
I hear you, dude. I had a car wreck in my first car, so I'm with you.
It's inevitable. But kind of getting back to gaming, I mean, I know that's the whole thing. Like, some people kind of come in and out of the hobby. Some people get really hot really fast, and then they, you know, then just as fast they drop out, or they do a big sell-off or anything else. And then there's kind of folks, I think, that are like you and me, that just plod along for a really long time. I've been doing this kind of like you know, since I was young, and you know, I'm not out spending big bucks. It's just little bits here and there, little bits here and there, and then eventually you got a lot of stuff. Yeah,
it's kind of how it sneaks up on you. I mean, I remember when I started getting to the benchmark goals with NES collecting, you know, like your 300, your 400, you know, stuff like that. And I never, my goal was never for a complete set. I just wanted the games that I liked. And then, of course, then it became, well, hey, I don't have that. I might as well keep it. And next thing you know, you're, you know, eBay searching at 3 a.m. to try to find Terminator 2. You know what I mean? Like,
I got lucky when I imagine you're probably something like me. I've still got like everything but no stadium events. I don't ever intend to go there. But I only ever bought like maybe 1 or 2 games from eBay. Like everything else was like deals with people, or like trading, or like forums, or I was always just hustling to do it. You know what I mean?
No, and I respect that. I mean, with me, there was a point where there was a lot of common games that I needed, and so I just did the math. I was like, well, I could buy this on eBay and have it delivered to my house for $7.
Yeah.
Or I could drive to the store and buy it for 10. You know what I mean? Like there became one of those. And of course, the thrill of the hunt is always out there. I mean, I I would say the majority, easily, if I was throwing out a number, at least 85% of my NES came from hunting. I mean, at a minimum. It could even be higher than that. But, yeah, and I'm a sucker for a deal. And then, you know, things like manuals, like I'm also going for all the manuals, which I'm down to like, I don't know, like 35 I need or something like that. 35.
I know, so I thought like I hit you up on Twitter. I'm like, surely he's got this
that
one
was
by
the
now.
one. Yeah, that's on the list. Yeah, Wacky Races is for those who don't know what we're talking about, a friend of the friend kind of thing. He's looking for a copy of Wacky Races. I'm assuming she just wanted to have a photocopy. And
yeah, she's just playing the game for review, I think.
Yeah, and that's one. That's a tough manual. I mean, and that will be something I probably will have to eBay, but you don't see it.
Oh yeah,
it just doesn't come up. So
I had a boxed one, but Bill, like years ago, gave me a Samson, and so I traded him some other stuff back, and part of that was the box and the manual for that. So that was years ago, and I'm like, well, I used to have it, but I don't. And I'm like you, I'm trying to get manuals, but I'm doing like the super slow route, right? Like, you know, when I can pick up some here and there, same way, you know, I'll probably never get there, but it's fun to just pick them up here and there, you know?
You can always get lucky. You never know.
It gives you something to look for. I guess that's the whole thing, right? And when you talk about hunting, that's in non-COVID years. I mean, like it sucks this year. I haven't been anywhere. But like in non-COVID years, it's fun. You hit a few shops. Maybe when you go to a convention, you pick through some booths.
Yep.
Or like with you though, I mean, you're still out and about in it, right? So I see your pickup scores like from this morning.
Yeah, I mean, to be 100% like clear, I take COVID very seriously. I'm masked up. I still social distance about as best as you can, but yeah, I'm still hunting. But you know, I'm very cautious. You know,
but
like,
you guys have things that we don't have here. Like I think you guys have a lot of those open air, like
everything.
Just outside.
Yeah. Actually, I would say almost all of my gaming pickups are open air. Somebody's yard sale or a swap meet. Very few of my stuff comes from thrift stores because our thrift stores are picked pretty well. Usually, the only time I get something from a thrift store is when I'm in someone else's town, you know, and usually it'll be disc based. I can honestly count maybe on two hands how many games I like. Any cartridge-based games I got at a thrift store, it just doesn't happen a lot. Like the workers at the thrift stores don't let them make themselves out. So usually I'm going for thrift stores for things to flip to buy games. You know what I mean? If I got to do it online or through Instagram or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we'll get into some of this in a minute because, those of you that are listening, we kind of usually have a topic in mind, but today my topic is to talk to Chris. So, but before that, we always kind of get a moment to kind of talk about what's going on with us and what we're up to. So, I'm gonna defer to you as the guest. So I don't know if you want to catch people up with kind of what's going on with you at the moment. Are there any games that you're playing, or is there gaming news that interests you?
Well, as far as games I'm playing, I just picked up the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake. My thumbs are a little sore right now. I was playing it last night into the wee hours of the night, and I paid the price this morning because I wanted to go to the swap meet. So I'm glad I went. So I did find some good things, but so that as far as gaming goes, I mean, I've been doing a lot of trying to speed run. Like I don't claim to be a speed runner, but I'm working on getting my times down. I actually have a world record, which it's not the hardest world record to get. Matter of fact, anybody listening can get it. It's the Glass Joe world record for Mike Tyson. I share it with probably like 250 people currently, and anybody could do it. You want to be a world record holder? Play Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and it's a real simple trick to knock Glass Joe out early. So I recently got the world record in that, but I'm actually trying to go for legitimate ones, because to me, I mean, it is legitimate, but it feels kind of like a cheat code almost. It's really easy. So
sure. Well, and I've seen like you doing the Contra stuff, of course,
yes.
and then I think you and Duke from Retro Nonsense doing like the Contra 3 stuff, right?
Yeah, I feel bad because I'm my buddy Duke. I let him down around the time we were playing it together, and not to be a drag, I had some family emergency stuff kind of going on. No, it's cool. I mean, everything's fine now for the most part, but it really took me out of it. And then he already beat it because I actually have never beaten Contra 3, and it's not because I can't. It's I haven't. I'm pretty confident in my run and gun skills, but I do admit I was getting stuck on some. I kept running out of lives.
It's not an easy game. It's hard.
It's a tough game, but I did feel kind of defeated because I was like, dude, I should be able to do this. You know what I mean? Like, I get no death run the original Contra easily. I mean, not any time I play it, but enough. I've one death run Castlevania. You know what I mean? Like, some people can't even beat them. And I'm not saying that makes me elite or anything. I'm just saying, like, I was disappointed in myself that I didn't, but he did. And Duke, if anybody ever checks out his channel, Retro Nonsense, he's just the nicest guy, man. And and it's so fun to watch him to try to conquer these games because he's so emotional. And I'm like, dude, that's me, but I would never record that. You know what I mean? It's like...
Right, yeah, and that's all that I couldn't do. I don't think I could do that, or like, people like Twitch streaming and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm like, I don't think I could be on camera and have people watch me do that stuff.
Well, I could do it, but I know I wouldn't have any sponsors because I wouldn't be saying gosh and darn. You know what I mean? I would be saying all the bad words. And...
Yeah, and that would be the hard time too. Is like I would have to have some space away from my family because they wouldn't want to hear the stuff that was coming out of my mouth. You know what I mean?
Of course.
But that's cool. So, what else have you been playing? Anything else, or?
Not really. I mean, I have a couple of games. How Nintendo they released all these, all-star versions of their games now. So we got the 3D all-star. So I got that coming. I don't know, in a week or so. I mean, really, it's just been mostly just retro gaming and now Tony Hawk. I was going through some of my Switch games recently, but I admit my Switch doesn't get the attention it deserves. And every time I play it, I'm always like, dude, I love this. Or even my PlayStation 4, like, that's pretty much my only modern that is my only modern consoles, those two. And I'm just a sucker for the plastic, man.
No, I get you. Trust me. My kids are on the Switch constantly. I mean, they even still play the Wii U, but I mean, honestly, I I was playing a lot of modern games. I just haven't lately.
Yeah.
I've been like, okay, I'll fire up. I got a Neo Geo not so long ago, so like I'll sit down and play for a half hour on Neo Geo, and then I'm good. I've got stuff to do. So
Well, there's this great YouTube channel that goes over speed runs. It's called the person's name is Summering Salt. And if you've never watched, I mean, it's just these beautiful. It's like the Game Historian, but on speed runs, and this guy does such a great job. So every time I watch one of these, now I'm like, I need to get my time lower. So that's really been getting my attention a lot. So and I don't ever expect to get like a Super Mario, a Super Mario Brothers 1 world record, because these are pixel perfect jumps and wall clips that are hard to do, and these guys are doing it like it's insane. But it's beautiful to watch. But he just did one recently on Contra, and I love that game, and I'm watching this guy's strategies, and like, wow, why didn't I? Because my no death run, right, is like I recorded it, and it was like 29 minutes. Now, mind you, I was being cautious, right? Yeah, the world record is like 7 minutes or whatever. You know what I mean? Well, it's like 7 minutes and 50 seconds, and I'm like,
whoa!
I'm like, oh wow, yeah. So but I did really good. Like I got my first level down really good, so I feel like I'm on world record pace in the first level. And that's where it all goes to crap. You know what I mean? Like,
well, yeah. Well, I'll watch. Sometimes I'll put Twitch on, and they, I wish something that Twitch would consider for people like me is they lump like every old game into just like one category, retro. And it's like, man, come on, man. There's like so much stuff in there.
I will tell you there. As soon as you start, kind of getting into, if you get in, like, let's say, you watch a particular streamer.
Yeah, I've got a few
I have noticed there's one guy I follow. Well, actually, about 3 guys that I followed that speedrun Super Mario 3. Now I do notice that they recommend Super Mario 3 channels to me. So maybe it needs to learn your habits, or
maybe that's it. Because I watched this one guy, and I've watched the stream a couple times, and I can't remember his name. Wears a cowboy hat.
Oh, Arcus. Yeah.
Okay. Then,
Arcus.
Like,
he's awesome. Ninja Gaiden.
He's doing Ninja Gaiden like constantly.
And that
and
one.
The dude just like do and like just annihilates the game.
It's funny because people will always refer to him as like the Bob Ross of speed running because of his.
He's just so chill.
Oh, and dude, and you'll see him lose a world record. Like by, like he had it, and it didn't work out, and he's like, okay, well, reset, smash. He does these, he has these little, like a rhythm to these words he used to time him out. Like I don't know, you guys have to watch it, because I'm not going to explain it properly, but, he just has all these things, like, swag star and smash and clunk and all these weird, and it sounds stupid if I say it, but when you watch
timing things,
and it's like this rhythmic, it's very rhythmic. It's awesome though. He's such a nice guy, and he responds to everybody who sends him a chat message, and he's so grateful for he's what's right, and I don't know what's wrong in speed running, but he's definitely what's right. He's if you want to support somebody, you can't go wrong with Arcus. He's a very good guy. Family friendly, too.
Yeah, that's it. I can put stuff like that on when the kids are up, and, it gives me something to watch in the background. Maybe I'm doing something else. And so there's a few streamers that I like to do that with. But kind of going back to what you're talking about with Mario, obviously you mentioned that you pre-ordered the 3D bundles. That was an announcement that came out since the last time we did the show. So what did you think about this 35-year Mario thing?
Well, I'll say that the positives are I like anything like that. I'm all about like the retro rehashes and stuff, as long as it's done right. And Nintendo usually does that right. They might have had some hiccups with the All-Stars on the Wii. I know some people they thought that was a lazy port. But
it kind of was a lazy port.
It was, but for the most part, I mean, they cater to the fans to the most part. I guess the big negative would be their limited supply theory.
What is that all about?
Yeah, and it's like something like Super Mario 3D All-Stars, and when they throw out the fact that it's going to have a limited run, obviously FOMO kicks in. I mean, the second I watched that, you know what I did? I went to Best Buy and I pre-ordered it.
Oh yeah.
And guess what? If you didn't, you can't now. Like, the pre-orders are over. And it's like, how is this major title? And, it lends to the scalping market, and, and that's not good for business. And I just don't understand why Nintendo wants to constantly leave money on the table. They're more worried about unsold stock than stock that would have been sold. You know what I mean? Now, don't get me wrong. This is a $1 billion company. These guys are doing fine. They don't need my advice.
That's right.
But I mean, had they not, they learned their lesson with the Mini, because when the Super Nintendo Mini came out, they actually were consistently making drops. So that had
there were plenty. Yeah.
It wasn't the NES Mini. That was a disaster. That was a disaster, and it really, I mean, you're looking at $400 or $500 resales on that. That's a disaster. And even look at what recently happened with the Switch. I mean, as soon as COVID hit,
you can't get a Switch.
You can't get a Switch, and people are selling their used Switch because the prices were so high. You're going for $400, $500 for a used Switch.
Trust me. If my kids didn't love it so much, it would have been gone for a little while.
Exactly, and I know I didn't, because I just think of my save data and stuff like that. I'm just too OCD to give it up. But the thought crossed my mind. I thought, I could sell this, and in 3 months, if there's going to be more.
Right, it's not going. They're not going to stop making this.
No,
thing.
it's their most successful console at this point.
Of course,
I mean, it's crazy. They knocked it out of the park with the Switch, and so I just don't understand why they keep making these blunders.
Yeah, well, I think, it has to, because they said with this 3D thing that it's going to be available through March. So, obviously they're going to print more copies of this.
Well,
right?
I think they're encouraging people to download. I think the fear is people are fearful of the physical copy. The fact that they'll just be like, well, that's all the physical copies, so now if you want it, you can just digitally download it. Mm-hmm. So the people who don't care about that, then it's no big deal to them. But the people who, like me, who want it like nice on the shelf and have the uniform, even if it's one of those situations where the game itself isn't really a game, it's just a link to download it. I mean, that's could be what it is, because it still looks nice on the shelf. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And I don't know. The other thing that caught my eye, and probably most collectors, is the Game & Watch, the Super Mario Brothers Game & Watch that they're releasing. That looks awesome. That's the one I'm really having FOMO about, because I'm afraid that I'm not going to get that. Because that one I could see being limited. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that is. I would be shocked if they sold 5 million copies of that. I just can't see them doing that. I don't know. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I could see that being 200,000. I don't know. Like, I really don't know with them.
I think it's hard to say, because I think they know, okay, it's a hot, it's a hot enough thing that they'll sell a decent amount. But you're right. I don't know what that magic number is.
Yeah, I would be shocked if it was in the millions. Even though I think they could sell that many.
Oh, yeah.
I think it would be easy to sell that many, but I don't know if they think they could sell that many. You know what I mean?
It's Nintendo, right? They will make sure that they don't have any left over. That's what they do.
And they do, and I'm sure some of their success, because we saw it with the Amiibos. There was that when those waves came in, people were at the stores waiting for them, and there wasn't many left on the shelf. Their biggest blunder was probably the Animal Crossing set, because that was the one that you always saw. But funny thing is those became hot when the Switch Animal Crossing, because they had the backward compatibility.
I was glad I already had those cheaply. Before,
exactly.
Right?
Now
my kids love Animal Crossing.
Yeah, the big kicker was those cards, though. That was the stuff where some of those cards are going for $75 for one. You know what I mean, or more, $100. It's crazy.
I know my daughter talks to me about that stuff, like, and I'm like, look, you can get a pack of randoms and see what you get, but
exactly. But anyways, I don't know. So that kind of got me excited. I'm always excited for Nintendo. I'm a sucker for them. If that makes me a fanboy, then whatever. I'm a fanboy then. I love Nintendo, and whenever they have new, especially when it's their main IPs, Zelda, Mario. I don't even know if you could say Metroid's a main IP anymore, considering they don't support it. But things like that. Those are the ones that usually get my blood pumping.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I'm sure, my kids love Mario games too, and, they will play them to death. Like, to me it's interesting, and I've got some, but like, they will play them You know, like I used to play games when I was a kid, of course, like over and over and over and over. I mean, you know, like Eden, my youngest, you know, she's 6, and she came up to me again today. And, like, I was busy like mopping the floor, and she's like, I got the credits to roll on 3D World again. And I'm like, all
That's
right.
awesome. Yeah.
You know, it's like, good for you, kid. So, you know, they've seen like the 3D World come to Switch, and they're like, oh, I think I'm going to ask for that for Christmas. I'm thinking, you guys have already played that to death.
So many times.
I mean, if that's what you want to ask for Christmas, I mean, you know, that's your thing.
Yeah, it looks like they're bundling something else with it, unless I'm just not aware, because it has like a Bowser's Fury, or I don't know, I forgot what the subtitle is, so I don't know if that means they're adding more to it, or maybe it was always called that, and I was just out of the loop on that one.
No, it's new. I don't know exactly what it is.
I don't know if it's a little tiny game added to it or something. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but it did look like they added a little bit to that release, so hopefully it's not just a straight Wii U port, because honestly, I mean, that would be
there's
the
been
big
a lot
complaint.
of those.
Yeah, that would be the big complaint about the Switch, is there's a lot of Wii U ports. But I mean, the fact is, you can't blame them. I can't, anyways. They have these great titles that, you know, let's be honest. Even though I love the Wii U, I think it's a great console. The name hindered it. I mean, people thought it was just an upgrade of the Wii. I did too. I honestly. And I feel like I'm in the know. And I remember hearing Wii U, and I just thought it was just some sort of, now you can play it on a tablet with it or something. And then it was like, oh, I saw it at the, you know, Walmart. It's like, oh, it's actually a new console. You know, so I think they really dropped the ball. And that was probably their most recent big blunder. Usually they have one, every 5 years or so, or 10 years.
Right.
Maybe
Nintendo seems to do that, right? Like, they'll have a giant hit, they'll do fantastically, and then they'll just follow it up with just a total mess.
Yeah,
so,
it's crazy, but
I mean, you know, what can you do? But, you know, that's interesting. I know my kids, I'm sure, will ask for the 3D stuff, and I didn't pre-order it because I thought, like, oh, I already have, and I told them too, I'm like, we already have all the old games. I mean, if you want to play them, I'll get the Nintendo 64, the GameCube out.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I didn't hit me up, but they're starting to talk about it. So, you know, I guess if I can't find a copy and they want one for Christmas, I'll have to do the digital thing. But
yeah. Well, and that's a great. If they don't care about the physical aspect of it,
they don't care.
Then that's really takes away that fear of the scalp. You know, you don't want to have with the Teddy Ruxpin or the Tickle Me Elmo or whatever. You know what I mean? The Cabbage Patch doll, where you're fighting parents in the store for it.
Yeah, I'm not about that. So, yeah. But yeah, I think that was probably the interesting news of the week. I mean, I don't know. So you say you've got a PlayStation, and this has been a running thing every time we do a show, is like, when on earth are they going to announce the prices for the new consoles?
Yeah,
and again, we still don't know.
No, I think they're really trying to kind of ease their way in it. It's probably a number we don't want to hear, and that's probably the truth of the matter. It's probably,
I think $600.
Yeah, and I'm agreeing with you. I think that's probably where it's going to be at, because you know, hopefully they smarten up, because they did that with the PS3 and it cost them, you know. Mm-hmm. And I think the PS3 is a great console. I love the PS3, but they got worked by the Xbox 360. That generation was all Xbox.
Now, I bought a $600 PS3, so you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't buy it right away. I was lucky enough where it had hit that first drop, and someone bought me a Blu-ray player as a gift. And so I took it back to Costco, and I got the money, and I just went and bought a PS3 with that money, because it's the same thing. I was like, why did you just buy me a Blu-ray player or a PS3? What are you doing?
Yeah, well, they don't know. Right?
Yeah, I was playing Grand Theft Auto 4 that night. You know what I mean? I loved it. So.
Yeah, so that's interesting to think that you think it, because I would think if it was going to be anything that was not horrible, we would have heard about it a long time ago. I think they're just trying to delay the pain as long as humanly possible.
I think so. Well, they don't want the negative. I mean, look what happened with the Xbox One. They released information too early that people didn't like, and I don't think they ever really recovered from it.
No, they didn't. Sure didn't.
I think that initial backlash was enough to put, you know, because we're from a different generation. You know, we're more likely to get resold on something later on. Like, we'll listen to them later on. Like, this younger generation, and I don't want to sound like I'm 500 right now, but it feels like if you tick them off early, you might have lost them. If it gets into that culture of the millennials and the Zoomers, I think it's mostly Zoomers they're probably worried about now. If they don't capture them, they're not going to be asking for it for Christmas. So they got to do it right, where parents are going to buy it and they're not losing, because they're going to lose money on the console. They always do. I mean, they're going to lose money on every console sold. Their whole game is market shares and the software. And the only thing that they got going for them is Xbox isn't right up breathing down their neck. If they were releasing at the same time, they might have a problem, because I feel like their hardware is going to be too much. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting fall, and I'm going to guess that probably what will really happen is Nintendo will laugh all the way to the bank.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's not going to be a big deal. But, it's always interesting. That's, being in it for so long and seeing so many console generations come around. As I get older, it's not as exciting as it used to be, but I'm still interested, right? It's still interesting.
Well, I mean, even think about the generations that, Nintendo lost, right? Like the 64. That was, they lost to the PlayStation, but they still sold a lot of Nintendo 64s. You know what I mean? Their overhead is smaller than Sony's. Like Sony might have made a lot more PlayStations and sold a lot, but Nintendo didn't go out of business. And that's what I laugh about, where, there's a certain podcast that has, that touts their demise so many times, and it's like, get out of here, dude. This is going to be the fall of Nintendo. They know what they're doing.
Every time you're like, oh, Nintendo's doomed. I'm like, dude, they got money in the bank. What?
They don't care. They don't care.
Yeah,
they're fine. They don't have a movie company attached to it. They don't have a television studio attached to it. They don't do that kind of stuff. And even when they want to do, like, I mean, just think about these little tiny things that they do, like Pokemon Go, right? That wasn't even necessarily a Nintendo IP, but yet their stock went up. You know what I mean? Like, things go up for them that they don't even have nothing to do with, Yeah,
they're doing just fine. And again, they can afford flops, because again, when you got money in the bank, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? Well, I say got money in the bank.
Think about what they did. They turned their back on, at the time, their most successful console, the 3DS. They just said, yeah, we're done with that.
Still hurts me. I really like the 3DS.
It's a great system.
I love the 3DS.
But they're just like, yeah, we're done. And people thought, oh, what a big misstep. And then they just sell more Switches than they've ever sold of anything. So
you're right. But I will tell you, if the Switch could play 3DS games, I would play the Switch a whole lot more. I would play it a whole lot more.
Well, they'll get you in their e-store.
I've got all the carts, though. I'm like you. I've got all the carts. But that's fine. My 3DS is going to... I've just thought about that. I'm like, maybe I need to pick up, like, another 3DS as a backup, though, just to keep around, because,
eventually they're going to die.
Right. And you can only get the 2DS now. So I'm like, man, I'd have to go buy, like, whatever the last run of 3DS is off eBay or something.
Yeah. And you know what? If you're not going for that special edition, if you're going for just the generic one, it won't hurt too bad. It won't hurt.
Nah, I'm sure it won't be too.
And we'll probably be in that PSP zone pretty soon, where more people will be selling those just to get rid of them, so the price will drop really low before it shoots back up again. I think you'll be fine. You'll probably find 2 or 3 of them at a garage sale next year or something. You know what I mean? One time I found one in garbage. Like,
what?
I went to, it wasn't trash, but they called it trash. I went to a yard sale, and there was some stuff off to the side, and I already had bought, like, their PlayStation 2. I bought some things from them already and was bagging it up. And I saw this pile of stuff over the side, and I was like, what's that over there? And they're like, oh, that stuff we don't want. Whatever you want in it, you could take. And I'm like, okay. I walk over there, a 3DS XL just sitting right there, and I thought, surely this doesn't work. So I took it. They said, take whatever you want. And I picked up a box, had stuff in it. It worked just fine. I'm just like, these people are insane. But
yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I've had that at yard sales where they have a a free box or something, you'll find some
Yeah.
good stuff in there. Sometimes
Yeah,
you're like,
that's crazy.
huh? I don't get it. So, well, that's good. I wanted to get into some of that too because I know you're out there hitting the sales, and like this year especially, like I've been stuck because I know out there where you're at. I mean, like you say, there's masks, there's everything is outdoors, everybody, and it sounds like people out there are kind of taking it pretty serious
Yeah.
and just.
You know what? Fresno itself as a whole, I feel like for the most part takes it pretty serious. I go to swap meet. I'd say at least 90% of people have masks on, which I feel like, you're always going to have the people who don't take it serious. And,
Yeah.
I just don't stand next to that person. But for the most part, I feel fine. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm not putting myself in a bad situation, So I'm still going to hunt. I admit, though, there was a few months where I was kind of, maybe I'll go out this weekend. I mean, you don't know. You don't know until you know, right? And I don't want to be the person who doesn't take it serious and ends up with the mea culpa when they're on the ventilator trying to tell people, hey, it's real,
Right, yeah, you don't be on the ventilator, but like, but I got this deal on Super Mario.
Right. I did find a Super Mario Brothers, so I got 3 of them.
But like here where I live in Indiana, people don't take it so serious, and not everybody's wearing masks, and
you have to be careful.
So it's tough for me. I really don't feel comfortable going out to, and unlike where you're at, like flea markets around here everything is indoors.
Yeah,
it's not outdoors, and it's just because we're a cooler climate,
Right.
So that's just the way it works. So this year sucked for me. I mean, I haven't really been going out and doing much of anything, and I'm kind of like, I feel like this, it sucks, but I'm excited to see when I like see the stuff that you're getting. I'm like, dang, somebody's out there enjoying it.
Yeah, and I would also recommend hit that Facebook Marketplace.
That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp are still good alternatives. And believe it or not, you can still find some things that slip through the crack on eBay. I have actually able to get some nice box NES games off eBay recently when I had no business getting these for the price I got them for, but
sometimes mislabeling, right?
Yeah,
or they'll put the wrong title.
Well, I mean, I got like an early print of Tyson. Not the first print, but it was all complete, and it still had like the free membership to the Nintendo fan club,
yeah.
and the little card in there, so it was really clean. And the guy had it up for like $150 or best offer, so being an idiot, I threw out a low offer, and he took it, and I was like, wow, and okay, so
I know it.
Every now and then you get lucky.
I've been this year. I've been selling a lot of stuff through eBay that I don't care about, non-gaming stuff that I don't care about, and I've been doing some buying on there. But I'm always like try to keep it because I don't know. I'm like, I'm trying to get a deal.
Absolutely.
So I don't like paying whatever is going for. So I'm looking out for that. Yeah, I'll throw out an offer out there, and I don't care if you say no. You know what I mean?
I don't get hurt feelings, man.
Right.
Hey.
And sometimes you get lucky and like, all right, this works out.
Absolutely.
And I know you do. I'm gonna guess you still do a lot of eBay selling, right?
Yeah. About the last month and a half, I actually took off. I was a pretty avid everyday eBay guy, but right now I'm getting ready to get mentally back in it. I decided to kind of take the summer off because of everything that was going on, and I ain't gonna lie. I don't want to use the word like depression, but I definitely was a little bummed out with everything that's going on, and I just didn't really feel like the stress of it. And there has been some shipping issues that I have noticed receiving stuff, and a few of the items that I have sold that went out were majorly delayed, so I did have some shipping concerns. I like happy customers. I do really good at my job. If somebody buys something from me, I pack it up. If it's not, well, I already have it packed up, but it's ready to go. I'll print that label and it'll be off at the soonest. Like if I could get it out that day, I will. But if they did it in the night, I'll get it out the next day. Like I'm very efficient. So when I see something like our mail getting delayed for whatever reasons, like whatever the reasons are, there has been some major mail delays recently, and that was concerning to me. So I have kind of but I'm getting ready to get back in it. My pile's too high of stuff I need to sell. So if I don't do it, I won't have a kitchen table and a living room anymore. So I need to start getting the stuff out.
I know, and I think you still need some sort of an outlet where you can tell people like these are the things to buy and sell, because I'd always hear like these like, oh man, look for like sprinkler timers or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm going like, what? I'm like, huh?
Yeah, see, like that Dollar Dork podcast, we took a little hiatus. The guy who did all the work, Derek, who actually did the editing and all that, he needed some family time, and I honestly felt like we had gave out so much of information, like I didn't really know where else we were going with it,
Yeah.
So I kind of felt like, well, if this was our Swan, I can't even say that, Swan song, then good, so be it. But yeah, there's so many weird items that I'll give some quick tips. Okay, so when you're at a yard sale, obviously go for the things that you want first, right? Because that's gonna be the stuff that's gonna break your heart if someone else grabs it. So obviously go with what you know. But if you're already there and you recognize certain items, like some things, if they were expensive when they were originally sold, they'll probably still have a good value to resell them. Now, I know that sounds like duh, but I see resellers all the time stepping over. We'll say like you stepped over a quarter or stepped over $1 to pick up a quarter. One time there was this little tablet thing. I don't even know. It was like a graphic tablet. This guy stepped like he was racing me. I could tell he was. Okay. He steps over this tablet to get some DVDs, and I'm just like, yeah, you can have,
right. What are you gonna make $1?
Yeah, and so I picked this up. I bought it for $1. I sold it for like $150. You know what I mean? So, and also let the phone work for you. I mean, it doesn't take that long to go to eBay and check up a completed sale.
Yeah.
Just do a little bit of homework, and it only takes seconds. You could literally look up an item as soon as you get familiar with your app. You can get a looked up item within less than a minute. And if you feel maybe you don't want to make the buyer feel uncomfortable, a lot of times I'll say, I'll make conversation with them. I'll be like, yeah, my son's into this. I'm going to send a picture to him real quick and see if they want. I'm looking it up on eBay. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And
if I don't like the price, when it comes back, I'm like, oh, yeah, he's got it. Sorry. But, hey, good luck on your yard sale. I don't like to make anybody feel uncomfortable at yard sales. I'm friendly. Usually before I ever ask anybody what they want for anything, I'll greet them. Good morning. How are you today? Is sale going well? Stuff like that. Humanize yourself. These are real easy tips. And, guess what? If you don't see games out there, they still have stuff in their house. So I always ask. And yes, I know to the more savvy of your listeners, they know this. But you'd be surprised. I got an NES Sharp TV at a yard sale for $50. And guess where it was? It was in his house. You know what I mean? Like,
right. And when it comes out, you're like, okay.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe it was happening. Like, I was literally like, this is really happening. And I mean, so much stuff. When people are like, yeah, we got a box. The best anticipation a lot of times is the best drug, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when they tell you, oh, yeah, we have some old games, and they're going in the house to get it, you get those moments to fantasize. Yeah, most of the time it's going to be garbage. But, every now and then it's a Chippendales too. You know what I mean? Like, right. You never know. So
yeah, well, that Stadium Events dream doesn't have to die, right?
It doesn't.
I mean,
They're out there. People still find them, man. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you know what? Rarity-wise, that Sharp TV I got is on par with the Stadium Events.
Well, I feel kind of... Yeah, I feel kind of silly with two of those sitting on my house right now, but
they're not easy to find. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah. And some people like just I've got friends or like my wife is like, what the heck is? Why do you have this? And I'm like, trust me.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, just trust me. I know what I'm doing here.
You're right. Yeah, just don't worry about it, right?
Right. Like, I'm cool. You do your craft stuff. I'm good.
There you go.
But no, I think you're right. And I think that's always a tough thing is how much effort does it take to be nice to people? I mean, it doesn't take any, and it works. I mean, it's not even like a thing to be manipulative to try to trick them. It's just, dang it, it's just being nice.
It's just being nice. Right. And I do find another thing. It really feels like the "well, make me an offer" thing has become the norm, and I know a lot of people don't like that. And granted, I don't
Yeah.
either. But you have the chance to manipulate the situation. I don't mean that in a sinister way, but think about it this way: if they start off with 200, it's going to be really hard to pull them down to 150. But if you start at, let's say, 35, it's going to be harder for them to pull you up to 200. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you can start off. You know what I'm saying? Like they're negotiation, but I always okay, I'll get another quick story, right? My best
Yeah.
score probably ever was last September. Okay, I wasn't feeling well. I had a cold, so I didn't get up early enough, and I decided I decided to still go out and hunt. So I told my girlfriend, look, there's a local game store, Blue Shell. And I had been scoring some Atari carts there recently, but I just had a feeling that I needed to go there that day. I don't know what, but it's like an old gambler feeling,
Okay.
you know what cards to play sometimes. You should fold those cards, but every now and then, you get this feeling and you flop four of a kind. So
Yeah.
we go there, and just for the power of observation, I kind of knew something was going on in the store. I saw a tub on the ground, I saw some things on a table, and I'm looking at it, so I figured someone must be doing a trade-in. But the thing I did notice right away is there was no person trading in. There was nobody there. But she was on the phone with them, talking about, yeah, that Atari stuff you brought. Yeah, we'll give you like $10 for it. And I'm looking at her pad, and I know what she'll really go to. It's like, oh, that's kind of shady, because I could see her top number is 40. You know what I mean? Because she's like,
That's the deal. That's the deal
hey,
that they
but
do,
that's
though.
the game. I don't blame them. They got to pay bills.
Right.
So, anyways, to try to shorten the story up, there's a yellow tub on the ground. I see this guy walking in with a yellow tub, and I'm thinking that's got to be the guy. Okay, he must finally got here. She's on the phone, busy, not even paying attention to him. But she's like, we don't want that one thing over there. So he picks up the original yellow tub and takes it back to his car. So I follow him out, and I tell him, I'm like, hey, did you have any Atari games in that tub? Because I'm thinking he's got old Atari games, and I'm just kind of curious what he got, so I don't have to wait around. I wasn't trying to jump anybody's deal, mind you. I was just wanting to see if it was worth waiting around. And
Sure.
and he goes, no, it's just some old Nintendo stuff. And I'm just like, oh, old Nintendo stuff, huh? And I was like what, like games and stuff? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, hey, man, I don't want to get in the middle of your guys' deal, but if you don't like the price that they offer, I'll be outside. Normally I don't do this kind of stuff, but I don't know. I had a feeling that I should. And believe me, I know the owners of that store, and they're snakes, so I don't care. You know what I mean? We're friends, but they're kind of shady guys. So he's like, well, he goes, they haven't offered me nothing. Matter of fact, they haven't even seen it. And I was like, well, I can't go in the store and do that in there, because that's not right. He goes, well, I'll go get it. And I'm like, well, if you want to, twist my arm. So he goes and gets it. He brings out this tub. Now, like the scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark when the Ark opens and there's just like this
Right.
light.
The golden light.
Yeah, or Pulp Fiction when they open up the briefcase. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, that's what happened, man. I'm just like,
Oh.
wow, all these sealed Game Boy games, sealed Super Nintendo
wow.
games. So I start to look through it, and I knew right off the bat it was a first print Super Mario World, and I was like, okay, I definitely want to get that. So I kind of just put everything back, and I'm like, all right, well, it's game time. Let's start talking here. So I'm like, well, what were you thinking? He goes, well, make me an offer. And I was willing to go much higher, but what I had on me was $95. That's just what I had. So I was like, how about $95? I normally never go all in like that, but I knew I could go to the game. But hey, listen, I'm going all in, and that's not, believe me, when you hear what this ended up selling for, you realize I'm actually the jerk. I didn't know, though. I truly didn't know what this was.
Well, I think when you just talked about the first game, we're already there. But yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, so he's like, well, for everything? And I was like, I don't know, buddy. You tell me. Like, he goes, no. He goes, let me see what they have to offer. Let me get your number. And I'm like, nah. Wait a minute. Let's just work this out. So then I'm thinking, okay, there's got to be another way. I was like, well, how about I just pull out a couple of items, and I'll make you an offer on that. And he goes, oh, yeah, that's fine. So I make a stack. I got the Super Mario World. There was a sealed Mario All-Stars,
Oh.
Ninja Turtle first, the Ninja Turtle 1 sealed. Like, all this stuff is sealed.
Wow, jeez.
And so basically I made a stack of about 10 items, I think it was. There was a first print Game Boy, but it didn't have the Game Boy in it, but it had everything else, all still, like, the headphones were still in the wrap. I just wanted that for myself,
Oh, yeah.
So then I'm like, well, in my mind, I'm like, I can't offer him the 95 again. I don't mind if he pulls me up. Take me to the number you need to get to, buddy. But I felt like if I offered him the 95, he might, like, the jig might be up. Something like an alarm
game's
might
over.
go off. Yeah,
game's over.
So, but then I also thought, you know what? Because we got to that point where I'm going to make the offer, and I said, you know what? Before we do that, I was like, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm losing my manners. My name is Chris. And he's like, hey, well, my name is Chris too. And I was like, hey, buddy, that's got to mean something. And so we
it's
got
a good name.
Yes, exactly. Only the best are named Chris. So we had a good laugh, and then I'm like, I was like, well, how about $75? And he goes, yeah, I'll do that. And I was like, oh God, I would have gave him more, but at that point, I mean, I just got to get out of there.
Yeah.
So I paid him, and I get in the car, and we're starting to drive off. Now, I think I'm going to be a big shot and show her. I was like, let me show you something. And I show her that game, and I was like, I'm looking it up on eBay. Now, I swear to you, I thought it was going to be worth like $700, which would have been a major score. Major,
yeah.
Yeah, and it had a current auction going, and it was at $9,000. You know what I mean? Yeah.
What is the deal with sealed games now?
I don't know, man, but that first... Well, I mean, the rarity aspect of that game is that every Super Mario World came with a Nintendo, but they didn't come with a boxed Super Mario World. So that first print Super Mario box is very rare. It's just very... And now you add the sealed aspect to it, that kicks it into that next level. Mine had a couple of little blemishes, nothing that was gonna kill the sale, but I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was far from not being perfect. I mean, not, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't trash, you know what I mean? So, I actually had a private collector reach out to me, and we worked out, so I ended up selling it to him for $7,000 straight, no tax, no nothing. And, I had the money in my account that night, and it was that quick. And
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, I didn't even know this guy. I could have totally. He sent it friends and family like this. So I just want this. I might have been a heel to the guy I bought the stuff from. Now, keep in mind too, if it makes your I know some of your listeners are probably like, this guy's a jerk, and I am, but
no.
But he didn't even know. He didn't know. He didn't care either. He didn't care.
That guy in the car could have got on his phone. Yes, right? He could have got on his phone and been like, look, hold on, let me look, and then we'll talk. And he didn't care.
And let me tell you another thing. So first off, part of negotiating is also being kind of an investigator, right? He had told me this was his grandfather's stuff, which made me feel like, oh, your grandpa, screw you, guy. But he's like, yeah, this is my grandpa's stuff. And then he also told me that he had looked up some of the Game Boy boxes, and that he wouldn't take less than 35 a piece, or that he knew he can get 35 a piece for him. And I was like, oh, I mean, I'll totally give you that. But, it's not my job to get you to your number. It's your job. Tell me. I asked him what he wanted. He could have said, I want $1,000. And guess what? I would have gave him $1,000.
Right. You'd be like, let's go to the bank.
Right now, here's 95. Here's my down payment. Let's go over here. I would have gave him $1,000. But, I mean, he didn't ask for that. He didn't even care. And mind you, he was happy. Now,
oh sure,
he'll never be happy if he sees that if he sees a completed sale. He might want to beat me up, and he looked very strong. But and
don't go back to that store for a little while.
Well, it's been a while, but if that day comes, me and him will have a talk. I guess we'll have to work something out. He looked very strong, but the thing is that was the deal, and he went for it. And hey, I ended up making close to 11 on that. It was awesome.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I've never had. I don't know if I've ever made that kind of money off a deal, but I mean, I've had similar things where. But that's just the whole thing. It's like, I mean, if we're friends, yeah, I'm going to tell you this is, what this is worth, and either I can pay it or I can't, and I'll tell you
absolutely.
But if we're not friends, I mean, it's just a you and a me and two guys meeting in a parking lot.
Right.
I mean, that's like we were talking about with Facebook Marketplace. That's what I've been kind of doing this summer is. you know, I've been hopping on there and I'll find little things real quick, and it's like, okay, I'll hop on that and meet somebody, and those kind of things. You know how it works. It's just
Absolutely.
real quick transaction. Here's the money. I'm gone. See you.
Go. And honestly, I mean, I don't think it was, but I mean, it could have been stolen. I could have been taking a big liability in some of that, and I don't think it was. I believe him. His story. He was well dressed. He had a nice car. He had a very impatient girlfriend in the car who wanted to go. So, I mean,
and some people don't care, and some people just don't care. It's junk, and I want it gone.
Exactly. And the guy wasn't hurting for money, but also, the thing is he didn't ask me anything. He didn't ask me to evaluate it. He just asked me to make him an offer, and I was totally open for a counter offer, and it didn't come. So hey, I got to get out of there.
No, man, I completely get it, and I know that's. See, that's kind of part of what I want to hear too. Is we're talking about all this stuff because if for some reason I ever make it out there, I'm gonna make you take me to some of these flea markets and stuff. Because out here, like flea markets, mostly kind of suck. I mean, they're indoors and mostly they're just like stuff I could care less about, and the price is usually not great. But I see you pulling stuff out of flea markets like every week. And so tell me about what these places are like you end up at. How they set up? What's it like?
Well, in my area, we have we have three big we call them swap meets, but flea markets. We have three big swap meets. We have Sunnyside, which is an old drive-in, which is actually from my childhood. When I was a kid, we used to go to the Sunnyside swap meet, except it still had a drive-in, an active drive-in.
Wow.
But now there's no more drive-in there, but it's in this original site that it used to be at. So that's actually Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can go all 3 days to that.
Wow.
The best day for me historically there has always been a Saturday. I try to make it to the Friday one when I can, because sometimes the vendors they get a deal for being there all 3 days. So, if you catch them the first day, you're going to get their first stuff. But I feel like Saturday's their best day. Sunday there's a Selma swap meet, which that used to be my favorite swap meet, but now the yard sale aspect of it is really shrank. There's really only maybe, let's say, about a half dozen, maybe a dozen actual yard sale type vendors, and the rest of them are more your newer items and stuff like that.
Is it like that Chinese cheap junk?
You can buy your toothpaste and toilet paper, and
right?
Or I don't know. There's it's
tube
not,
socks or whatever.
Yeah, it's not what it used to be, but it's the only game in town on Sunday. But we also have the Monday swap meet, which is in it's in Hanford, which is another town. I'm in the middle of a bunch of towns, so it's like 20 minutes one way, 20 minutes the next way kind of thing. So Hanford swap meet, that's a really good swap meet. That one it's split in half, but it's done perfectly. You have your new crap on the right and all the yard sale stuff on the left, so you don't even have to make it through the new crap. There's very few overlap. There's a couple of guys are on the yard sale side, but very few. So that's really a nice swap meet. That one's kind of hard with work, but I'm able to make it out to that one when I can. And also on Saturday there's the cherry auction, which is another big swap meet. It's actually the closest swap meet to me. And that one runs Saturday and Tuesday. I've actually done a lot better on Tuesday, but because Saturday, to me, Saturday's mostly for yard sales. I try to do my yard selling on Saturday, whereas swap meets, it just depends on mood. Usually I'll go to them. I kind of go for the scraps later on Saturday, but some days I just don't feel like yard selling, so then I'll go early to the swap meet, which was today. I actually did it reverse. I went to the swap meet first and then hit the yard sale, and that's where I got a Wii U and a couple other things. But
I didn't even see the picture of the Wii U. I just saw like the Rumors album and a couple things.
Yeah, that was the swap meet where I got the Mario Party 4 for $4,
yeah.
Which I was like, whoa! And here's a spoiler alert for your fans. Now, a lot of times these things don't work out, but tomorrow that same lady's supposed to be there tomorrow. And she's supposed to be bringing her Nintendo, her NES, and Atari stuff. She didn't think anybody would want it, so I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll be." I was like, "When are you gonna be here?" She goes, "Well, I usually start setting up at 5." And I'm like, "Oh, good lord!" And I was like, "Okay, well,
I'll be up and I'll be there,
I'll be
right?
setting the alarm clock. It might, and I've had this situation happen too many times where it's a bust, but I won't be able to sleep because I have a few of my competitors. We're on, I see their social too, and I can't let these guys beat me to this late because I've already worked. It's my deal. You know what I mean?
Right. So,
we'll see.
And that's it. You put the time in, and you're like, nah,
Yeah, so I can't let those grease balls beat me to her. So.
That's fun. Do you see like I'm gonna guess that's the thing, right? You see like the same guys, and you're like,
there's about 4 or 5 guys that I actually took the initiative to be like, hey, my name's Chris. I know we're searching for the same stuff. What's your name? Let's we don't. Who knows? Maybe we could trade or something. And my buddy Mark. I'd say we're pretty good friends. We always enjoy chatting with each other and. Most of our encounters is only swap meet, but we do a lot of online talking, and we meet up in parking lot and do greasy deals and stuff like that. And the thing is, we're both into video games, but we also have other things we're into, and he's into like old hip hop cassettes. So I know I got him on the line anytime I come up on one of them, and so it's kind of fun. But there's a couple of those guys that you still have the. Give them the stink eye when you see them. You're just like, you know what I mean?
Like, oh, it's you.
Yeah.
You're here.
But you know what? There's something really satisfying when I see the life get sucked out of them when they see me walking up and I already got a bag in my hand. It feels very satisfying, So.
Is it one of those things that like when you see the other person's already there, do you just like, okay, I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna try to get ahead of you down the line.
Yeah, there's a lot of power walking for sure, but I've also gotten to the point where, I know we're both going to get something. And we both, or, when I say we both, or whoever that other person is that day, we're both going to come off with something. We put in too much time. So whether they do or not, I still have a mutual respect going on. I mean, I respect their hustle. I know what they're up to. But it is nice to pull it out right in front of their face. And just to see that look on their face, how it's like, oh, yeah, you didn't see this, huh?
Especially when you can like they're there and you're there, and if they've already picked over a spot, and then you go back to that spot, and you're like, oh, didn't see that under there, did you?
Yeah. and frankly, it's bit me in the butt a few times. Like these little micro cassette recorders, I've made a small fortune off of them, right?
I know I've seen you put those things all the time, and I think like in my head, huh?
Exactly, and I don't see them as much anymore. So I think
you bought them all.
Well. And I think a few of my competitors have picked up on it, and that's okay. Hey, there'll always be another micro cassette recorder kind of item that they don't know about. Sprinkler timers. Who knew that those would go for $40 to $50 on a used? But have you ever gone and bought a brand new sprinkler timer? Then you know what I mean.
I don't have sprinklers.
Exactly, so, but some people really care about their yard, and apparently those things aren't cheap.
I guess so. It's funny when I'd always hear you talk about it, or like you'll post some of these things. I'm thinking, because obviously when you put up your pictures, it's pretty easy for me to figure out like, oh, well, I mean, the game stuff I get.
Yeah.
But some of the other stuff I'll see and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Like, why would you buy that? I mean, obviously I'm thinking like VHS tapes. I understand there's a VHS tape market for certain kinds of movies. I'll be honest, I don't understand that market. Yeah. Obviously, you must really understand that market.
I'm part of the market, so I do. I mean, I collect. I enjoy 80s slasher horrors, and then there's always like these prints that never made it to DVD. There's like those, like the lost prints, like. One that everybody kind of knows about would be like the Star Wars prints, like the pre-special editions. Like the only way to get it would be like on Laserdisc or VHS. The VHS is the most accessible one.
I still keep my Laserdisc player just for that set.
Exactly. And guess what? A VCR is way cheaper. So if that Laserdisc goes out, you know what I mean? I got you covered on a nice set of VHS tapes.
Right. But that's it. I mean, and I had never, because,
Well, initially, I used to only show my video game finds. I didn't show all that other stuff. But I started kind of, I'm like, you know what? This is what I got. Who cares? Like, I'm not always going to be able to pull, little Samsons or whatever. So sometimes you got to pull out 9 items that could buy a little Samson. So I don't mind educating people because, I have a buddy who's I have to admit, and as much as I hate to admit it, because he's not a very humble guy, he really did kind of get me into like the eBay reselling aspect. And I went out with him and I was watching some of the items that he picked up, and they weren't, they were just items that I probably would have overlooked. So then I started just basically looking at every item, and I'm thinking, hey, you know what? That looks interesting. Let me look up this old Nokia flip phone. And it's like, oh, lo and behold, it's selling for $65 and I can get it for a quarter. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, I'm going to, and then I really started going that angle. But, he always likes to say like, iron sharpening iron. And that's also kind of his way of saying, hey, well, you got any tips for me? And, I play, when we were more competitive, when he's not in my area anymore, but, I usually kept a lot of that close to the vest kind of thing, or to the chest, depending on what region you're in. I don't know. I've heard it both ways. I don't know which one.
We're vest people in Indiana.
You're vest, yeah. And then the other day I heard someone say to the chest, so I'm like, hey, just make up your mind. The chest is close to the vest anyway, so what's going on?
Whatever.
Do we need it? Anyways, so yeah, but I just started putting all that stuff out there, and
well, I need to. If you're not already on the lookout for things, maybe I need to put a bug in your brain to start looking for retro computing items, because that's been my thing this year. I've been really getting into like retro computing and doing a lot of repairs and things. So
I've been seeing that.
If you're not already out there looking for it and you start seeing the right things, I could tell you there's some things that to watch out for.
You always have an ear if you want to talk into it, because I had flipped one of them old clicky keyboards. What are they, like a M1 or M4 or
Model
whatever?
M,
yeah,
IBM Model M keyboard.
Yeah, I clicked my way to $120 profit off of a $2 purchase, and that really, I'm thinking, oh man, I hate to think of all the keyboards I had looked over. I passed over. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm still looking for one of those myself. I almost got one in a Facebook deal the other day, but somebody undercut me. So anyway.
Yeah, and one of the things I actually regret selling is see, this is the collecting hoarder aspect of this, because
you gotta be careful.
But I found a sealed Windows 95, right? And
yeah.
It was a 95 or 90. I'm pretty sure it was 95. And the lady, the funny thing was the lady was talking me up. She's like, that's worth $100 online. And I'm like, oh yeah. And I wasn't arguing with her. I was just like, oh, okay. And I was like, well, how much do you want for it? She goes, well, just, I don't know, give me $2. And I'm just thinking,
why didn't you sell it for $100 online if you knew?
Well, there's reasons, I'm sure, but it was kind of a tweaker garage, but nonetheless.
Oh, I get you.
Nonetheless, it was just interesting, and you know what? That lady didn't lie. That's exactly what I sold it for. And I remember thinking, I was like, when am I going to come across another sealed Windows 95? I probably should have kept that damn thing, but whatever.
And I think, in my head, I think like, okay, you're out there in California where there should be tons of this stuff. So yeah, maybe we have to have a chat.
Well, and tell you what, I'm right next to Silicon Valley. I mean, it's a 2-hour drive, but I had a feeling of my son, he wanted to go pick up some stuff in that area. So I'm like, well, hey, while we're there, let's stop by, because it wasn't that far from Sunnyvale, and I just wanted to go see the old Atari building. So I worked out a deal, and I actually got me a boxed heavy sixer from a guy, because I had been actively looking at an offer up guy over there. So I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in that area. So anyways, long story short, I went there and I got it, and then we went to the factory and I took a picture and I was like all happy. And then I thought, damn man, I was like, there's a game store not too far from here. I was like, I think to myself, I was like, what if I found a prototype, So I was like, hey, let's go over there real quick, son. So we went over there, and sure as shit, I found a prototype of Fireworld. It's so weird.
Well, that's the thing, is being down there, it's got to be like mad. That's where everything comes from, right?
Yeah.
So I'm here in Indiana, where nothing comes from here.
Right, everything goes through there. Right,
corn and soybeans is pretty much the only thing that comes from here. So that's all I can imagine. But I find myself, I'm dealing with a lot of I'm doing like a lot of repairs on a lot of things, because this stuff's getting old. It's 80s computers and things. But I will tell you, like these 80s computers, they're it's making a resurgence.
I will tell you this. I went into now that was another thing that maybe some of your listeners might think about is electronic dumps. If you can worm your way into one of those, see, I like, another thing I like to collect is CRT TVs.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And the easiest ones to collect because of how big they are is the smaller ones. They're fun. You know, a lot of times they have nice colors. They're green, they're yellow, orange, red, stuff like that. And, you know, they have really cool looks to them, pop-up screens. Like, there's all this really cool stuff with them. So I decided to hit one of them up. I thought, you know, hell, I'm in the Bay Area. Why not, you know? They have to have an amazing one. I'm in San Jose, right? And it did not disappoint. But the thing was, this lady was a collector. She had all these beautiful Macs, and I mean, I'm talking like first, third, fourth, fifth, you know what I mean? Like, they were all in this office. She let me go through and dig around, and I pulled out a couple of TVs, and she actually gave me an excellent deal, because they were going to go to the garbage. And she's like, whatever, just give me $10. I'm like, okay, here you go. And, but yeah, I'm just thinking, I was like, man, why did I wait so long to think of, and you know what really makes me mad is, my buddy I don't know if he still does, but we kind of lost contact, but he worked at an electronic dump, and he was telling me that his boss was cannibalizing any computer that went in. They were digging out the gold, right? Because there's little tiny bits of gold in all of them. Not some of them have more than others, but he was going through and taking out the precious metals, you know, the copper and the gold and silver or whatever. And I don't know why I didn't even think about it then. I had a pipeline. I could have, you know, like, I could have got the first dibs. So, hey, if you guys got a local electronic dump, you might want to start hanging out there, because I know people, they pull out Nintendos and all kinds of early protos and all kinds of stuff end up in these dumps.
That's it. People just, they don't know. And they don't care.
They don't care.
It's just trash to them.
It's been in their uncle's garage for 20 years, and they don't give a crap.
Right. So yeah, you know, I would say if you start finding, if you got computers and things, or, you know, if nothing else, you want to strip them down for parts and sell them, like 5.25-inch floppy drives, you know, those really old, big floppies and everything. You see computers of that vintage, you might start taking a look at them and doing your checks. And,
absolutely.
If nothing else, the parts out of them, you can make a little cash off of.
And if nothing else, my buddy Chris might want to, maybe we can work out a deal. Maybe you can.
That's it, right?
Maybe you can snag one of those stadium events from your buddy Crabby or whatever.
You know, this is the thing. Kelsey's going to be editing this, so, you know, he'll hear. But that's funny. You know, sometimes, all right, I love my wife.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
I try to be honest about the money and everything. And normally I just don't spend much money.
Sure.
Right? And so I'm not going to get into all the fine details here, because I don't want to.
I don't want to overhear you. Yeah, go ahead.
At one point in time, Kelsey offered me a very fair deal on a stadium events. And my wife was like, "You're going to do what?" And I'm like, just you got to trust me. And she fought me. And I didn't.
Yeah.
And yeah, anyway.
Yeah, we all have that stadium event story, because I could have bought one for $1,000. I could have bought one for $700. You know, I was never in the whole I could have got one for $50 or nothing. I didn't even know about it at that time, but I have passed up on some very reasonable time. And at the time, I mean, it was still under market, and it went from being a $3,000 cart to a $10,000 cart. It felt like I blinked, you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, because when it was a $3,000 cart, I could have got it for $1,000, and I still just remember thinking like, it's just why I don't, you know. And I was offered it many times from the same seller. He's like, dude, are you sure? And I'm like, no, but no, no, I can't, and I should have.
But you can't time travel, right?
No.
We can't time
somehow
travel.
You can't.
So
because if I did, I would go back to 1985 and I would buy every test market sealed Mario or whatever, and I would retire.
Right, and that's the. I just, you know, that's been the thing, and I'm sure you've seen it too. Is that I'm guessing with this COVID thing, everybody's stuck at home, so like eBay and prices on things have just, and you know what I mean.
Well, Wii Sports was going for $40 just about a month ago. Now it's leveled off. But
still, it's like
$40 for the most common game of all time.
Yeah.
Every Wii came with a Wii Sports. Every single Wii. So there was like 50 million, 100 million, 100 million Wiis sold or whatever. It's the most common game there is. I mean, there might be technically some other game that's more common, but that actual version, yes, like certain games have been replicated on multiple systems kind of thing, but that version of that game is so common. You should be seeing it every time you go out hunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now
it's going to be a dollar pickup.
Yes, every time. Even today,
Mm-hmm.
the lady I got the Mario Party 4 had one. She just forgot the disc. It was the covers there. She's supposed to bring it tomorrow. And I'm going to, if it comes tomorrow, I'm going to get it tomorrow. But it's going to be like $2,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the most common game ever. And it went up. I made a small fortune on the stack I had. I was like, wait a minute, what?
I'm glad you made me think of that because I got a couple sitting myself. So
well, you might as well. I mean, you're not going to get the 40 mark, but you still might get a 30, which is excellent, man.
Considering the zero I probably paid for them.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
People were just, and even now, I mean, sometimes people are just giving Wii's away, right? They're like, this is old. I don't want this. Just get it out of my house.
Right.
And you're like, all right.
Kids don't play it no more. They don't care. You're going to probably have like 3 copies of Just Dance, but it's okay.
Because I'm sure you're like me. I mean, like you say, you network, so you just have these people will pop up out of the blue and be like, hey, you like games, don't you? And you're like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
What you got?
Yeah, it's always a very satisfying conversation when that question gets asked. I'm just like, yeah. Let's talk.
And sometimes it's like, okay, it's, I'm going to get some Wii remotes or something. And sometimes something crazy shows up.
Well, that's another thing that shot up. I mean, just the basic ones were going for $22, $23. The ones with the Motion Plus were going for over $30. And you can't play your Wii without your Wiimote. So I guess it makes sense. People want it. Yeah. People, that's, what's funny is we've all seen those benchmarks hit, right? When the people matured enough to where Super Nintendo was the hot item, and when GameCube was a hot item, and 64 and all that kind of stuff. Well, those kids are old enough to buy Wiis, and they all wanted Wii again. And the Wii explosion happened at the beginning of COVID. Wii became crazy, and the prices are still crazy. But I mean, they're a little less crazy than they were. But and what I mean by crazy is, yes, they're not $500 Wiis, but the Wiis were $5, and now they're like consistently selling for $100. Like go to your Facebook Marketplace and look up Wii, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And it's the norm.
And that's the nice thing where I'm at. I don't know about where you're at. Like people here don't figure that stuff out real well. So I mean,
you're like, oh shucks, let me take that off your hands, ma'am.
Right, I can still pile that stuff in really easy. You know what I mean? I don't know what it. I guess people just don't pay attention or whatever it is, but that's it, because there were just so many of those sorts of things. I mean, but like you say, it's like anything. I remember when I would go just buy stacks of N64 carts at garage sales for nothing, next to nothing.
Yeah. Well, and something I forget about every now and then is there's people with like, a couple $1 million in the bank. So, I mean, you know what I mean? They have nice retirements and property and boats, and so they're not worried about that.
They don't need to chase. They don't need to chase $20.
They don't care exactly. So there's that too.
I feel for them, and at the end of the day, do I need to chase? I mean, I don't need to do it, but I mean, if I could fund my hobby by doing it, okay,
yeah. Well, if think about it. Had you sold 75 Wiis, you would have had that stadium events. Your wife wouldn't have cared. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know if I want to sell 75.
Well, you know what I mean. Whatever the equivalent was at the time.
Yeah, well, that's been the thing more recently is that I've just I've been having to get really a lot better at repair because a lot of stuff I get in, I'm picking it up and it's of the age where they don't work or they don't work right anymore. But that's even better for me because, then the value to them is like, well, it doesn't work.
Garbage.
What are you going to give? You give me anything, I'm happy.
Sure. How about I just take it off your hands and get it out of your house, right?
Right. So I've gotten pretty good at some of that stuff. And then, you can be like, all right, well, either it's great to keep or let me turn around and flip this thing. So I'm starting to get pretty handy at that because, a lot of this stuff we're dealing with from the 80s and stuff, it's, it doesn't hold up.
No.
as well as we'd like it to, you know?
Yeah.
Even like Nintendo's, you know what I mean? Before, I mean, you stupid pin connectors or whatever is all you ever had to worry about. But these days,
now the power sources are growing out, and
right,
other
it's
things,
you know, it's all that stuff keeps adding up. So I don't know. I mean, I can see why the prices have to keep going up because I mean that's it. There's less and less of these things every day. A lot of people just like you said, throw them in the trash.
Yep,
they're gone, and now are like, oh, I don't think it works or whatever, and they pitch it. And, or like CRT TVs, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like how many more years before you're just gonna be like you're just not gonna see them anymore?
and I actually see you know, and it's not a big secret, like those Sony Vegas, Trinitrons, those real last editions of the Sonys are really kind of the top of the line for playing. Now, besides like going into PVMs and stuff like that, but as the actual CRT. Those are really the top of the line, so I actually have a couple of backups in the, you know, like that. I don't care. I don't feel bad about it because, you know, when you can pick them up for free or $10, if you have the space, you might want to think of the future you who, when that day's gonna come and that picture's gonna go out, and unless you know how to fix it, I don't, and I would probably end up electrocuting myself if I ever tried. So
you can learn. If I can learn, you can learn. Yeah, but you know,
but it's a lot easier just to take that thing off, unplug all the wires, and plug in the other one that you've had sitting around under a blanket, you know, in the garage, keeping dust off of it.
Yeah, you know, you're right. I've got, I mean, I've got some PVMs, but I've also, you know, I've got a stash of some, especially like I've some of these older computers I'm dealing with. You know, these monitors for these things.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Are even harder to come across.
Yeah, because those were literally trash to people. They were so bulky.
Oh, yeah.
Once the flat screen monitors became a thing, nobody wanted those big monitors. I can only imagine how many of those were destroyed. There's not very.
Well, I'm even talking about like those monitors from the '80s before, you know.
Oh,
they
yeah.
Weren't even VGA and stuff.
Exactly.
You know, like monochrome monitors.
Oh, those
and stuff.
things are long gone. I mean,
yes. So
now
I've got a couple of those around.
Yeah, those are the things that if now somebody comes, you know, it's funny because think about it. There was the time where somebody that seller at the swap meet or whatever, they would have something that was old, and they were like, "Well, this is old, so it's got to be worth a lot." And you're just like, "Stupid! It's worth nothing. Nobody wants it." And now that same guy who's saying that same thing is actually right. It's finally caught up where that guy's actually right now. Who's out there, who's held on to that thing, or all these years it's sun beaten, it's all destroyed now. Now, it is worth what he's talking about, but its condition is garbage now. But, you know what I mean? Like, it's funny how eventually, you know, I mean,
well,
look
that's
at
it. I mean,
64 set, man. There's, like, common carts out of that were, now they're $40-$50 for, I would hate to, I mean, that's one of the sets that I have that's full. It's a complete set. I mean, not boxed, but it's the cart only. And there's some of those carts where I'm just like, I'm so glad I did it when I did it, because I would never pay for that right now. I would just not have done it, you know?
Yeah, well, you're probably, I mean, you were like me, you know, you were buying those when they were nothing. You know
right,
what I mean? So it was pretty easy.
I paid up for a couple, but, you know, I'm not going to lie. I paid up for, Sculptor's Cut was one I paid up for, but, you know, but a few weeks later I found, that racing one that shot up really crazy. I can't even think of the name of it right now. I don't know. It was a Blockbuster exclusive. I paid for.
Oh, okay.
I got that for $1, and that one's like $400 loose. So it's like, it's crazy.
I know it, and there's sometimes where I don't know. I look at some of the later disc stuff I have because I've still got a lot of disc stuff, and there's times I think like, man, maybe I just need to get out of discs because.
Well, the disc rot thing becomes a concern. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, maybe I just need to get out of this while there's still money in it, before this stuff starts going sideways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could totally see that. And to me, I'm sorry, I couldn't let it go. It's Stunt Race. So, anyways,
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I had to know what it was because it was going to drive me nuts if I didn't say the right words. Yeah, but the disc rot thing, I actually purged out. Well, I mean, I didn't give them away, but I sold some things like, you know, like I had some Saturn games. I didn't even have a Saturn, but I just, you know, like the Resident Evil, like I sold it for like $120. I'm like, I can hold on to this thing just because I like the way it looks. or I might as well just get rid of it. If I want to play Resident Evil, I got multiple options to play it, and there's just certain things, like if you really want, if anybody's on the fence right now, now's the time to dump your GameCube, because it is going crazy. I mean, unless you want to wait a little bit longer, but man, I mean, you're going to start to see these titles that you used to, like my buddy, I was just talking to him earlier, he had sold, there's a particular NFL game out of the GameCube library that he thought would be worth like $5, and he was selling it, and right before he sold it, he looked it up, and it was selling for $30, and he still honored the deal, and I'm like, dude, you're too nice. You're just too nice, but...
Well, I see you picking up all these golf games.
Yeah, the Tiger
and
Woods
I had
golf.
no clue. And you're like, all these golf... I'm going like, why the hell is he buying all these golf games? And then it's like, oh, okay, that's why he's buying all these golf games.
I mean, especially that Tiger Woods Masters for the PS3, that has a really... I mean, that's a almost $50 title right now, and it might actually be $50. It's the PGA Tour 2012, the Masters.
And I'm like...
Yeah,
golf.
And even the Wii,
like, who cares?
and the Wii version of it, same thing. Well, and those are something I think might hold value for the fact that I don't think they're making any more Tiger Woods games. I think it's kind of that might be one of those things where it was a double thing. Whereas COVID, people wanted to be active, so they wanted to play golf, and Tiger might not be making. It's like the NCAA game. Now, the cat's kind of out of the bag on that one, but that the college 2014. You find that you most likely you're going to find it for a few dollars, and that's going for like $140, $150 and up. I mean, it's skyrocketing. So that's something I would sell now if I had it. I wouldn't wait on that one. I kind of feel like eventually the NCAA is going to get back into video games. They're going to figure something out. They're going to pay these players, and they're going to figure something out.
There's too much money on the table. Somebody's going to figure that out.
That's a lot of money being left. Or they're going to do something where somehow they're going to make those players so generic that the likenesses are going to be an issue or something. You know what I mean? Like
Billy Sports, quarterback for the
exactly. I just can't imagine they're going to leave that IP on the table. It's crazy.
I know it, and I don't know, that's the whole thing. Is I mean, I play modern games to a degree, but I'm in no way, shape, or form as informed in the market as I used to be on some of these things. You know, the old stuff I know. The new stuff,
Well, get you an Instagram account, buddy. People.
Oh, dude.
People will tell you. All you gotta do is just what you don't. It don't matter. It don't matter. Just it's so simple. That's my favorite social
old
media.
Man on Instagram.
Hey, who cares if they follow you? You follow them. They don't. It's not one of those things where they have to agree. If they got a public account, you can jump on board.
Maybe
I don't know.
People are.
I'm closing in on 6,000 followers, so I guess maybe if they knew my age, they might not. But that might be the thing. But most of the guys in my group we're all in about the same age group. You know, it's funny because you still have some of those guys who are like, "Yeah, I finally turned 30. I'm old now," and I'm like, man.
Get out of here.
I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say I got some words, but I'm family friendly show. I won't say, but I'm just like, come on, 30? Get out of here, buddy.
I know it. I've got some friends that are a bit younger, and I'm like, you got no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just wait. Buckle up, buddy.
Yeah, you wait, man. It's gonna get worse.
I know. I got a friend that's about to turn 40, and I just went, "Oh, you're in for the fun time now, bub."
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, so I'm curious. I mean, I know obviously that you post your pictures on Twitter, right? So I'm assuming that you're posting this stuff on Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, I think the stuff that you're posting on Twitter, a lot of it is probably sell stuff. But I mean, I noticed that you don't tend to put like, this is keep stuff, this is sell stuff. You just like, here's my grabs.
Yeah. Typically, I'll be honest, most of my collection aspect is mostly on Instagram. On Twitter, I just usually because I don't know, my audience is different on Twitter. I think I don't really, it's I don't know. I just kind of put here's what I picked up, and my interaction is on Instagram that's my crack or whatever. That's where I get my endorphins shooting, and whatever the social media gratification comes from, but. That's usually where most of my oh, I'm one more manual down kind of thing. I don't put as much stuff on that on Twitter. But the reason I started putting a lot of my my sales and stuff was, the thing was, the guy with Dollar Dork, Derek, he had me on as a guest, and then he's like, I think we had a good chemistry or whatever. Maybe you want to co-host or whatever. And I'm like, sure. So then I thought, well, at least I need to promote this, because I kind of felt bad, because I'm really bad at stuff like that. I feel kind of, I don't know, embarrassed or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I got a podcast. I don't know. I feel embarrassed.
I don't do a lot of shameless promotion either. So.
Yeah. So, but I started kind of like showing the pickups just so people, like, hey, look, these are things you could flip. If you want to hear a little more about it, come listen to the podcast. I'll go into more detail, that kind of thing. And so, yeah, and I try to, I don't know. I look at what annoys me about other people's threads or their timelines, and then I try not to do that. So,
there's a lot of stuff that really ticks people off. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to fight, just bring up the election coming up, and you'll have a fight on your hands. And I'm about done with all that. I don't care anymore. Just, can we get over already? Just tired.
I try to keep Twitter very let's gamey focused, right?
That's kind of. Yeah,
let's talk about the games and let's have some fun. And when we all got our opinions, but we could take that somewhere else. Let's talk about the games. And it's a lot. But you can get in a tussle in a minute if you want to. But that's I'm good. Yeah,
on my Facebook, I have enough. I'm fighting with my family enough on there, so I'd rather not fight with strangers. I'm already fighting with people I care about.
Yeah, I abandoned Facebook. So,
I should, man. I should, but
I mean, technically the account exists.
Yeah, but I can't quit that marketplace, and I have a couple.
That's all I use it for.
I have a couple of good groups that I'm involved in on there that are really almost a throwback to how the fun used to be, kind of. And that's actually kind of what I feel about Instagram, because I don't follow a lot of accounts, so my feed is very clean. I don't know what other people do, but I know. I keep it where, if you start to annoy me, you're right, out, man. I come here for fun. I'm not here. I don't care. I just show me something nice and cool and funny or something,
Well, I know, and I see you on the, sometimes on the NES TV, Facebook group and whatnot.
Yeah, so. Yeah. I was a little more active early on it, but now
there's not much else to say other than I got one.
Hey, look what I got. Here's my serial numbers.
Right. What else do you say? I mean, like, the guy that made the doors.
That guy, you know what? That guy deserves an award. Because how many years have people been talking about that? And this guy
that was every post.
Every post. Won't somebody 3D print these doors? And this guy finally stepped up and 3D printed the doors. And I'm embarrassed I don't have his name on the tip of my tongue right now, but he's a good man. I finally got my doors on my TV. It looks great. I don't care that they're reprint. If I ever come across the real ones, fine. But now I don't care. There's no more impulse. It looks great.
I was happy to give him my money.
Absolutely. So. My friend Dano, he had one. I immediately hooked him up with it. I'm like, dude, you got it. This is perfect. You got to get in on it. Even if they're placeholders. They're cheap placeholders. You get them both for like $110 or something. I was more than happy to give him that.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is he's not even really trying to charge. He's mostly charging the material and the shipping. Like, he's not making money. It's literally a labor of love. That guy did a great thing for the community.
That's it. I think, if he wanted to try to, he could sell them on eBay or something.
100%.
He just did them for our little group.
That's exactly what he did. And if he's a good person, and he deserves all the praise. And they're great doors. They're perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
And the thing is, he wasted money doing that, because he went through a lot of prototypes of that where they'd be a little bit off, and he wanted it to be perfect, and he really did put in the time on it. And I think his name is Kenneth. I don't know why that name's in my head, but whatever it is, he's a good man, and you need to give him a shout out later on whenever you figure it out. Maybe
but he's only in that group. I mean, if you don't own a TV, you're not in that group.
Well,
anyway,
hey, man, send him a couple of bucks anyways, just for the heck of it. He's doing a great thing for the community.
Yeah, I love people that are doing, and that's another thing too. Is, man, I love that there are so many people doing like mods and upgrades and all this stuff for like old gear. I mean, that's always that there's so much interest out there for stuff. And that, sometimes young people are still so interested in these old games too,
Yeah, Game Boy Color has become a real hot mod. I mean, you see that with the Game Boys a lot. The prices are going up. I think the only downside to the mods that are happening is you are going to start coming across less and less original equipment. And that's kind of a drag. I mean, I'm kind of a purist when it comes to things. I do have an original Game Boy that somebody modded and backlit for me, and other than that, I feel like maybe everybody deserves one of each model, and that's it. Like if you want one of those Japanese or Chinese knockoffs that just put all the ROMs on it, just do that, man. You know what I mean? You could get one with a Bit Boy or whatever they're called.
Right, yeah, with the weird 4 buttons on them.
Yeah, just get one of those, man. Quit ruining these old GameCube or Game Boys.
I hear you. Well, a couple of things I wanted to bring up as we start kind of wrapping this up a little bit is, I wanted to give an opportunity first off for whatever reason, if there's people that are listening to the show or they're following us and they're not, plugged into you and what you're doing. So why don't you give a second, talk to folks about what you're involved with and where they can catch up with you?
Well, I mean, I'm on Twitter and Instagram. That's where you're going to find me. It's CWR2 and just the number 2, not the word. And it's my old poker ID. I'm not very creative. And they're just my initials.
Well, and I mean, you're lucky to have a 4-digit Twitter ID.
Yeah,
too.
Actually, I didn't realize how fortunate that would be because, I mean, think about it, because those take up characters, right? But, years ago when I was really into online poker, and when I created my first account, I wanted a generic name. So I just thought, well, what's more generic than your first 3 initials? So I just put that in there, or your 3 initials, and I put that in there, and it was like, no, you have to have 4 digits. So I was like, okay, CWR1. Like, nope, that's already taken. And I'm like, all right, CWR2. And they're like, okay, that's you. And you know what? For years, I searched out CWR1. And I looked for any sort of trace for him. Because you can actually, I don't know if they still exist, but there used to be these sites where you could type in somebody's poker ID and it'll tell you their all-time winnings or...
Wow.
I could never find CW, and you could look him up. Like, you could say, look for this particular user. This was on PokerStars, mind you. I never could find CWR1. So if you're out there, CWR1, I don't know. I kind of think CWR2 was better because it's me and it just became me. But screw you, CWR1. You never even used your account, okay?
What a loser. Do you tweet at that every once in a while like, hey, I know, give it up, you jerk.
I know you're out there. But, it's like, well, me and my oldest son, we have the same initials, so... I kind of started saying, well, there's 2 of us. It became that 2 kind of like incorporated into that. It's like, well, okay, so there's 2 of us. But at the time, if I'm honest, it was just, I would have just been CWR, but that wasn't. So now I've gone across every social media. Anything, something new comes out, I just put my name in. I take the ID just in case I ever want it. I got a Snapchat that I've never used. I got them all. I got all the things, but half of them I never even log into. But I locked down the ID just in case.
Yeah. So that's on Twitter, and I'm gonna guess Instagram.
Instagram's the same thing. It's all across the board, and Twitch the same. Even though I don't Twitch, but it's all CWR2. So if you ever bump into somebody, that's probably me.
Now, where can people find your eBay stuff?
That's the only thing that's different. It's CWR74, and it was pretty much because I'm uncreative, So, but right now, honestly, I don't have nothing up, so it would be boring. It's like 6 items up there, but I will be shooting out some. I'm getting there. Well. Couple of weeks it'll be full with about 30-40 items that you can buy some of the crap that I've been but if you don't want to, hey, don't worry about it. There's plenty of crap to buy on eBay. You don't need money. Well, but if you do buy from me, I will pack it well.
Favorite sellers.
Well, I will pack it well, and I won't sell you something that you didn't buy. If I say it works, it works, and if it's the condition's going to be what the condition is. I don't deceive anybody. I got good feedback, and I don't know, high rated seller, whatever. All the good stuff. I got the little stars with all the colors and everything. You know,
You've been in the game. You've been in the game for a while.
Yeah, they actually sent me a coupon the other day because you know, it's funny how people like to rub it in that you're old or whatever, right? Because it's
yeah.
It's like, yeah, you've been with us for 25 years or something. I don't even think they've been around for 25 years, but whatever reason, they gave me $25. They're like, here. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to buy something, so thanks. So
right.
I just went and bought
They know that.
It's like, all you have to do is buy something that's worth $25 and 1 penny. So I'm like, well, I can do better than that. You know what I mean?
Right, absolutely. And so, before I think the show started, you were telling me though that you're doing a vinyl podcast.
Yeah, STC Pod is it's a podcast it's kind of like it's two guys. They're very entertaining, Bill and Joe, and they have like Bill has kind of a spin-off thing. It started kind of organically where he was just on his channel just trying to just put some content up. So he's really into vinyl. So he started just kind of showing his vinyl on a weekly basis, and then a couple of friends eventually ended up chiming in, Matt Bandy and Kevin. He goes by Buried on Mars. And then one day as a goof, I just called in and I don't know, I started insulting people, making jokes and just being stupid, and they liked it. So I'm the worst out of the four. I mean, there's no, you're not going to get any, these guys that you could be like, you know, what song was, you know, War Pigs on, and they're like, oh, well, that's, you know, Black Sabbath, blah, 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 blah. And they know all this stuff. Or what was, you know, Elton John's 4th album, and they know this crap. And then, like, Matt Bandy knows every genre of metal, like black metal, death metal, stoner metal, something metal. And, like, and I swear half the time he's making this stuff up, but then I Google it, and it's real. I'm like, I never heard of this genre. I was like, dude, is this rock or not rock? I don't know. Like, what are you talking about here? But these guys, they know their stuff, and I'm the fourth wheel. So well, it's not my podcast, but I do go on there. They're good guys, and if you want to hear some vinyl talk and then hear me say some stupid stuff like here's this VHS tape I found, go ahead and log in. It's STC Pod on YouTube, and the vinyl show is typically every Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, and I know there's some bleed over in our listenership and some of the STC pod guys and some of this other stuff. I mean, Twitter's a small world,
sure,
right? So
sure.
I'm sure some of our listeners, and other words, I know, if not, I'm thinking of my friend Rich and a couple of the guys that...
well, you got Single Banana and...
Yes, well, that's Rich.
Yeah, I got Rich.
So, yeah. So, you know, a couple of those guys, if they're not already listening, they should be listening to your show because, you know, vinyl.
Hey, if like I said, if you could just not you can mute my segments if you want, and the other three guys really have a lot to bring to the table as far as vinyl goes. They're very smart. They know their stuff, and I've learned stuff by listening to them talk, you know, and then I make fun of them for talking too much.
Well, that's why I've always enjoyed like all the shows that you've been a part of, and I enjoyed being a part of that one time. I you know, a feather in your cap. You're always very entertaining to listen to and to talk to. So,
well, I try, man. You know,
it's always a lot of fun, and that's why, you know, I thought when Kelsey said that everybody was going to be gone, I thought, oh, okay, perfect, and I can have a guest, right?
Yeah.
So that was my opportunity.
I'm honored that you thought of me, and I appreciate it. And I've always been a fan of you guys, and you know. It's silly to say there's not a lot of us old school collectors out there, because there is, but it feels like it's getting fewer and fewer, and we're getting invaded by the heritage market group or the heritage auction group who are investment buying and the sealed games and the WADA collectors, and you know it feels like they're invading our space, and whereas I guess we used to complain, I guess the real gamers used to complain about collectors. And now us collectors are the people who are complaining about the WADA guys and their little pyramid scheme they got going on there. But
investors are a whole nother thing, man.
Yeah, you know what? Those investors have made me money, to be honest. But I'm a purist when it comes to the hobby. I used to really feel bad when I sold video games. I'm not gonna lie. I never cared about the dirty reseller thing. I always thought that was stupid. To be honest, I would joke it up and I would play into it. But in all honesty, some of my good friends are quote unquote dirty resellers, and they're just good people. You know, it's a product. They're just trying to. They put in the time. They deserve the profit. But
Sure.
what's going on right now is it really does feel like a market manipulation that's a little greasy. You know,
It's kind of weird.
It has
kind
some
of weird.
Well, you know, when that Super Mario Brothers, that sticker sealed, sold for $100,000, when, mind you, somebody actually offered them $110, but they didn't sell it to that guy, but it went on this heritage auction site, and lo and behold, the WADA guys were kind of, there might have been a little market fix going on there. I know a few people who have a little insider information. Anyways, if you guys are listening, I'm just joking. So don't say it. You know what I mean? Not just messing around. You guys are all good people. But I don't know. I kind of feel like there's something going on I don't like it. I don't like people insider trading. I feel like that's bad for stocks, and I feel like it's bad for video games. So
it's kind of trying to, I think, draw on a different market than what it's traditionally been. Let's just say that.
The comic book guys, the coin guys, you know, you're starting to see, if you start to go to some of these guys' Instagram accounts, you'll notice they're buying silver, they're buying comic books, they're buying baseball, like recently a LeBron James rookie card, like some card that never went for nothing, sold for like $16,000. Like, there's some price fixing going on right now. You know what I mean? I can understand the Honus Wagner selling for the 2-something million because there's like 4 of them in existence. But, you know, these LeBron James cards, there had to been a few thousand on a minimum. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand what's happening here, but, you know.
People got the COVID brain. I mean, everybody's stuck in their house. They got nothing to do but hop on their phone all day, and some people got money.
Some of these guys are going to understand they just bought some Beanie Babies, so you know what I mean?
That's true. No, I hear you. Well, good. So, well, that's cool. So I would recommend to folks, you know, if you want to go back and listen to some of the stuff that Chris is involved with, the Narc show, right? Still would be fun, I think, to this day. And you archive those, right?
I don't know what Rip did. I do know that every now and then somebody, I still actually have access to them on my phone through iTunes, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know if somebody scraped them and put them somewhere. I really don't know. I know at one point he told me he was going to stop paying for the storage. So I don't know. They might be dead. Who knows? They never made it to YouTube. He never wanted to deal with it because he was worried about the music. And I was like, well, we'll just put it on a generic channel and not monetize. Who cares? But I don't know. It never made it. So I hope they're out there somewhere. I mean, honestly, I cringe when I think about some of those early episodes, but
it was fun though. You guys always had, it was fun to listen to.
Yeah, it was. I wish I was a little more prepared in some of those early episodes. I felt like I was just like a little bit of stage fright, cameras on. I felt like I had to say something, and then I remember later on thinking like, oh, was that right? But you know, I don't know. But yes, you know, if you ever want to hear there might be some Narc podcasts still floating out there. I mean, I know the Dollar Dorks is still out there, but that's mostly a reseller podcast. So if you're interested in that, of course, the Vinyl podcast, I can't say that's my podcast. I am a very, I'm like the flea on the dog's back kind of part of that podcast, but that's out there, you know, so, hey man, there's some content out there, but there's a lot of good stuff, you know, like another good, not to get off on a tangent here, but the Collectorcast is an excellent source of retro gaming podcast. Johnny Iucci and Stefan and Tyler, they're a really good threesome. So that's something else if you guys are looking to scratch that video game itch, the retro game itch. It's a good one.
Yeah. So I wanted to, you know, mention that again, Chris has been doing this for a long time, so of course you guys, for some crazy reason, if you're not, you should give him a follow. Chris, when I was telling Kelsey that I was going to have you on as the guest, he was kind of upset that he couldn't be here to talk with you. He was like, dang it, I really wanted to. I'm just ashamed of it. So maybe we'll see if we can get you back on again at some point.
I'm always available, and you know, I will try not to cut you guys off. And thankfully, in a one-on-one format, it's a little easier because you're a very generous host. When I start to talk, you stop, which is very nice. But
I think people have listened to this show. If you've been listening to the show this long, you've probably heard enough of me and my stories. So I'm ready to give somebody else something for a minute. But yeah, that's it. I think, you know, I wouldn't be surprised. We'll ask to get you back on board, and maybe I'm gonna pick your brain and send you some stuff to watch out for. Maybe we can
absolutely
work out some old computer part deals. But as usual, for folks that want to find us, I think if you've listened to the show, you've found it already. But we're on Twitter, collectorcast.com. Collectorcast. You can find the show at collectorcast.com. The shows end up on YouTube. It was funny. I have to tell you this real quick, just because there was like somebody that came on. Like, really, the only reason I put, and I've always put these on YouTube, is because we have a couple listeners that really like listening on YouTube for whatever reason. And I've asked, and they're like, it's just easy, and I just like to do it that way. And I'm like, okay, cool. No questions asked. Beyond that, like, if you like it, it's not work, I'll put it up there for you.
Sure.
But I had some guy come on the comments, they're like, I can't believe you guys have like no views and all this other stuff. And I'm going like, I mean,
this isn't the main source of the views, buddy.
But even that, I'm just thinking like,
what do you care?
Right. I'm like, who seeks out something with no views to complain about no? I'm like, are you just like a person yelling into the void?
People are miserable, man.
I just thought like, you've got, okay.
Well, every now and then I'll get a random person do something like that on my, one guy one day on my Instagram, he's just like, I don't even know why I follow you anymore. I don't even know who you are, buddy. I'm sorry. Like, did I hurt your feelings?
Then don't.
I mean, you know how to click that. You know how to click it, bro. Just enjoy your life, man. Don't waste your time with me. Go on. I'm not mad at you. Just go ahead.
I just had a really good laugh because I'm thinking like, how miserable must your life be to do stuff like that?
I pity some of them because I just know like if you, well, all right, real quick I got that big Mario collection, right, of all the stupid cards.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is not so much on my Instagram, but sometimes other people will they'll repost it, right? Sometimes they'll tag me and sometimes they won't. The Vice article, it was in his own thing, and my buddy Daniel Brown, which is a really cool artist, if you guys want really funny content, really cool art that he does on Instagram. But very nice guy. He put it up. He was more happy about the article than I was, I think. And he reposted it in his thing. And just going through the comments, it's like, this guy's a loser, and what, he's got brain damage, and all these different things. And then another guy, the NES, he's called the NES page. He actually has a Facebook page, and I stumbled across it one day, and I didn't know he had put that up on there. And I'm reading it, and this one lady's like, how selfish of him to buy those. There are people out there who want them. And then there's another guy who's like
there's millions of these.
So I start replying to them, not angry, I don't care. And I was like, yeah, that guy's a jerk, And then another guy's like, he's like, oh, he lives in his mom's basement. And I'm like, my mom lives in an apartment. You know what I mean? And she does. It's like, so now my joke is like, I'm in my mom's apartment basement and I got brain damage. I'm a selfish collector, and I'm trying to stop people from having, I don't know, there's probably like 50 million of those cards out there, but and then people will be like, you're trying to fix the market. I'm like, with 380 games? Do you think I could possibly fix a market that has millions by buying 380 up? Like, dude, are you
People
insane?
Are so crazy.
Right.
I'm just like, the salt is real.
Yeah.
You're just
and
like,
I'm just like, you know what? And every time I'll collect these little insults, and then sometimes I'll just put them out on my Instagram just so people.
Oh yeah.
It's just for fun. Like, I don't even care if you want to insult me. Believe me, I enjoy it. So bring it on. CWR2, if you want to tell me how stupid I am, come on over. It's fine.
Well, that just kind of reminds me. Maybe you should do a video because I always have to laugh at Pam.
Yes, I love Pam's video when she puts those up.
I know, and I told her the last time, I'm like, next, please have me on to read some of these terrible things.
Right.
It's just so funny.
Oh, it's so great. Oh, she's excellent. I mean, and I love, her videos are good anywai, but those are my favorite, and it's not because I like the fact she's being attacked. I think these people are misogynistic douchebags.
Oh, yeah.
But her reaction and just the way she reads them and just like, oh, well, whatever. She's perfect. Her deadpan is amazing. She just reads them and she has such a nice personality about it. It's just so good. So, Pam, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, It's awesome. I mean, she's my favorite when it comes to that. Like, I honestly, I want to be more like Pam when it comes to responding to people. I would love to be able to put a montage of all my insults out there just for the viewers to enjoy.
As I say, maybe you collect enough of those, you could do your own thing.
Maybe
from your mom's apartment basement.
Her apartment basement.
Well, again, thanks for taking a little time to be with us, and I'm sure we'd like to have you on again at some point in time. Keep posting the stuff, and hopefully, I would like to hear you get involved in another gaming show at some point in time. Somebody needs to pick this guy up.
I'm available. I'm a free agent. Me and my friend Curtis, we've been talking about one, and I took the YouTube domain for it just in case we decide to follow through.
Okay.
So it's
okay.
We'll see. I couldn't believe. Okay, it's now featuring. We made a joke. I had bought this sign at it's a SNK sign. Someone cut it down or whatever, and I bought it at a.
And for those that are not obviously can't see it, yeah, it's like from like
an arcade marquee, and it says now featuring, and you would put the thing. I couldn't believe that was available on YouTube. Just
really?
Now featuring, just that, okay. And I thought that's a great name for a YouTube channel. So I took it, and then I started talking. I was like, why don't we do a podcast, and the now featuring aspect will be whatever topic we're talking about. And
there you go.
So, but he's actually he's actually a real successful person. I mean, he has an acting career, so I don't blame him. I'm the loser in that group for sure. But
I was just saying, what are you trying to say about us?
No. I just mean he is, this guy, he's doing commercials and stuff, and I don't know, he has real success. So,
well,
you know what I mean. I feel like, anyways. So we might do that, but who knows? Anyways, but if someone else, if you want me on, I'm down. If I'll try not to curse. I think I made it through this whole podcast without doing it, which is amazing. I stopped myself a couple of times. I was really close. So
Kelsey will be the judge, I think, when he edits this thing out.
I hope I missed there might be a small Mario coin or something, a half a coin or whatever.
He'll take care of us. Well, thanks a whole lot for coming on, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you again soon.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. Anytime. Whenever you're ready, I'll do the mute thing. I mean, not mute thing. I mean, my mouth mute thing. You know what I'm saying? Yes. That's what I meant.